Good evening. Welcome to our book study, Rise of the False Gods. Tonight, our topic is family, the building block of the foundation. We've been talking about building, temples and foundations and frameworks and cornerstones. And we're going to pick up on that tonight. If this is your first time visiting my Rise of the False Gods bookstore, all about transformation through illumination, you can go to YouTube and type in Rise of the False Gods, Alicia Leslie, and you will find all the videos on the topic. You can also feel free during our book study tonight to enter questions or comments. I may not see them tonight. I may see them when I review the video. Unfortunately, my screen doesn't scroll the answers that well. Sorry about that. So let me just grab a little sip of my tea, wet my whistle. Okay, gosh, I gotta tell you, I'm kind of tired today. I was doing more of those things. You know, those things you put off and put off and put off, and like time to do the taxes and all that head work. Anybody who thinks that thinking can't make you tired, they are so wrong. I've got a lot of mental fatigue going on right this minute. But I was so looking forward to getting together with you for the book study tonight that, of course, I am here. Okay, so tonight we are talking about the power of family, sacred building block of the temple. And what is the temple when we're speaking of metaphysics? It is the consciousness. Because it is a temple, we are talking about our spiritual consciousness. Okay, and I am reading on page 200. We're up to page 200 already. Wow, we're getting there. We'll probably be done just about the time when the campground opens for the season, and I will have to be off working. And not that I don't work every day, but working in a wonderful another job. Okay, so next to the cornerstone, I see the family as a critical part of building a temple that can withstand the challengers. Family is a divine idea in the mind of God. In its purest form, it is an interdependent, supportive, protective, loving, safe, and secure unit. It is a stepping stone to creating a world that works for all. It is cohesive and it its qualities, the things it does are protection, provision, love, and nurture. And protection and provision are typically the male energy, and love and nurture are the female energy. And it always takes masculine and feminine energy to create the whole. Um, so it is important to have a cohesive. Now, what if we were to take this down a notch to our individual being? There is in our very own nature so many wonders. We are made up of so many wonders. You're going to hear more and more because now we're through the tougher part and we're into the more, to me, fun part of the study of metaphysics. That within us is a family of consciousness. Okay, now some of us might be from dysfunctional families, and that means there are different people in the families playing different roles, which affects on us psychologically, physiologically, spiritually. mentally and emotionally. And we all play a role in the party, but yet within our own self, we have, the little cartoons always with the little angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other, and they're trying to sway you one way or the other. Life is like that. We have so many decisions to make every day, and we want to make the choices that are bringing us up higher, not holding us down. So then we look at the regular level of family, which is parents and children. We all came from a family, whether it was a functional or dysfunctional family. We came from a family. And now that we have moved on, we still work within a consciousness of family. That may be the family you created with the family of your birth, your origin. Sometimes families are made up of friends, and that does not make it less of a family if it contains the important components of family: protection, provision, love, and nurture. So, as I moved about the country in ministry, I would wind up usually having my little family unit that I would build while I was there. People that you meet and get to know and hang out with and have holidays with, and because you can't always have the family that you were born into. And our family is eternal. Whether we like to admit it, don't like to admit it, want it to be so, even if we have become estranged from our family, we are still bound together by our connection at any time. And this is a wonderful time as we are looking at reconnecting, whether it can be in person or not. We want to reconnect with our family, whether it's a family of origin or a family by design. So we begin then, now that we kind of discussed the role that family plays, we're going to look at components of the family. And we begin with marriage, the foundation of the family. As false gods have infiltrated our families, wooing them with self interest and distraction, they have become weaker. More than half of all families fall apart. Blended families struggle to reclaim the the divine idea, to a part of what, see, a divine idea lives within you and calls out to express. Now, if we try to run the show from our lower consciousness in creating a family, we're not doing a really good job, and that's kind of what we've tended to do. If we let our higher spiritual nature guide us and stop thinking so much about our human desires, we will have a better outcome in marriage. So when a couple breaks up and there's a divorce, there's both a sense of failure and a desire to recreate that dream, the dream of the family you wanted, and that's not usually successful if you're operating in lower consciousness, um, because you're still thinking about yourself and how you want it to be. And if you don't take a long, hard look at what went wrong in your previous relationships or marriage, you're not going to be able to move on to a healthy marriage, new relationship, because you don't know what went wrong in the last one. Oh, we might think it. We may blame that SOB for mistreating us and being mean to us or running around on us or whatever. But we were still in it. We were still a part of it. And we drew what we drew by right of consciousness, and then we dealt with it for better or worse. And I will tell you flat out, for me, I didn't deal with it right. I tried to replace it, and I manifested disaster. By the grace of God, I have learned from it, and I definitely use it when I prepare to unite couples in holy matrimony. You want it to be holy matrimony because the word holy means whole. You want to create a union. If this doesn't happen, the marriage is like doomed from the beginning. When we try to create blended step families, they fall apart at a higher rate. It was 67% of failed second marriages in 2012. And then, as far as third marriages go, there is a 73% failure rate. It's kind of scary, isn't it? Now, that doesn't mean that happens to all of them. There are the people who had the bad relationship, learned from it, grew, came to know themselves, and made a better choice the second time. But it's rare. That's what you have to know. The primary reason for failure in a marriage is it is built without a foundation. We seem to have says there's many reasons, such as the distraction of technology, ease of divorce, adultery, marriage, and manufactured beliefs about what constitutes happiness, which we have confused with pleasure. The primary reason for failure is it's built without a foundation. I was shocked, and it was many, many years down the road, and not more than, it was less than 10 years ago. I woke up to the realization neither of my two husbands and I were friends. It's crazy. But I wore these rose-colored glasses. I had visions of Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello and romance, and it was going to be wonderful, and looking at physical attributes instead of spiritual attributes. Plus the fact that my husband, my first husband anyway, we were looking at fitting into the pattern that we were born to move into, which is grow up, get married, have children, and live happily ever after. But we had no foundation, no solid. The closest thing I had that I think is what kept me in the marriage for 17 years is my faith and my belief in the church. I was in the Catholic Church. And when you get married, it's till death do us part. And when death starts to look a little appealing because you would be out of the mess, that's a definite sign that something is wrong. Einstein said you cannot solve a problem at the same level of consciousness you created it. But that's what we keep doing. We keep marrying, messing up, divorcing, marrying, messing up, divorcing, marrying, messing up, divorcing, because we don't do our homework in the meantime and figure out what went wrong. So the clue is, and the sad part about that is there are usually then children involved. So Now you've got unhappy father, unhappy mother, unhappy children. Today's culture takes us into different rooms to watch TV or play on our computers in the evening, when even back in the days of the cavemen, they would gather around the fire and tell stories and get to know each other better. Can you imagine that? Getting to know each other better. And so much of this has evolved since I was a teenager. Granted, we were in the wrong consciousness then because everything was based very romantically, but it's still, there was that expectation and effort to that it would work and to make it work, which that helps, having a strong faith basis and a church family that helps you. You know, I always tell couples when I'm marrying them, we go through premarital counseling, which I think is really, really important because it is so revealing, and it has makes couples talk about stuff they've never thought about before, like, you know, children and financial issues and who's the boss and who takes out the garbage and all that kind of stuff. But I made sure that I had them at least take that kind of look. And I do believe the couples that accepted the premarital counseling had a better chance of making it for sure. Um, so, with more than uh, half of the marriages failing, uh, if it's not a strong spirit centered marriage, it will crumble. One might assume we do not marry well. I know that to be true. I didn't marry well. And the second marriage was worse than the first marriage because I literally went from the frying pan to the fire. I was so convinced that if I was alone, there was something wrong with me. I was undesirable. Um, that I really was very focused on, you know, creating this new family, which made a worse mistake. And that's how I know the law of cause and effect works, because I've not worked it and watched it happen and do serious damage to my children and my, despite good intentions, my intentions were good. It didn't make me a bad person because I made bad choices. It meant that I had a lot of learning to do, which I pray I have learned. Next time around, we'll see. And when I say next time around, I don't mean in this lifetime. Give me a break on the other side, and we'll talk about it when I come back. Okay. So here's a very, very, very important thing that we all have to know. Because a divine idea doesn't work out right for us or for us the first time does not invalidate the divine idea. The divine idea of mobility, of being able to get up and walk around, uh, was the end result of much practice and failure. Okay, if that, you know, little kid watches other people walk, knows it can be done, tries it and falls, tries it and falls, tries it and falls, gets up and walks. And so we can't say because I tried it and it failed that the divine idea is negated. Um, okay, let's see. What did Cheryl say? Yes, way back when no one talked about anything related to marriage or sex. That's true. What did we have to base it on? Oh, wait. Oh, Cheryl. I don't know. I came from the Catholic tradition, and that's where we had pre-Cana conferences. It's where you would go with your fiance and meet with the priest. And the priest, this was not premarital counseling. It was, we were told what we were to do and what we were not to do. And with the piece we talked about in the Life on the Light side the other day about what women could and couldn't do, that it was not until I think they said 1993 that that marital rape was considered wrong, a crime. Up until then, you had to satisfy your husband no matter what kind of mood you were in, no matter how much, his needs came first. And that came from the priest's lips to my ears. And there were a lot of things that were very different, as we said, in those days. That's one of the things, though, that also, unfortunately, has made divorce more common because it's so much easier. And I always wondered sometimes, like if we get out of a marriage too easily, if they're too easy to get into, and we're so tied up in the wedding, we don't think about the marriage, right? But when you get married, if you get out too early, you're not learning the lesson. Now, I was in my first marriage for 17 very difficult years. And I'm going to tell a little story. I don't know if I got time. I guess I'll squeak it out real quick. This is very revealing, but if I can't use my life stories, my mistakes, to maybe give you something to think about that you won't make such a mistake, I'd gladly pay that price. My marriage was so painful and so stressful, and I tried so hard to make it okay. I won't tell you about all the stuff I did, but one of the things a friend and I did, we made up a game called the Stepford Wives game. Now, if you never saw the movie or read the book, The Stepford Wives, I don't mean the comedy version, I mean the earlier version. The idea was to be the perfect mate, to do everything to be the perfect mate. We got points for putting special things in lunches. We lost points for um, talking back. We were like going into some Puritan kind of thing. And we'd do everything to make your husband happy, and so you get these points. And so we would journal and talk to each other about how we did. We'd call each other like once a week, and so how'd you do on the game? Her marriage situation was pretty much like mine, with a rather abusive, uh usually mentally and emotionally abusive mate. But anyway, that was sick. That was sick. But it's how much I wanted my marriage to work. And what really caused me to decide this wasn't going to work. Sometimes people stay together for the kids. When the kids are suffering because of it, it's time to get out. So I apologize to anyone I know who may be aware of my situation back then. And I don't go around blaming anyone else, because I was in that marriage. I made the marriage, I was in the marriage, and even though I was trying to make it work, I wasn't doing the right things. So a part of these situations are purely uh situational. Let's see, just checking out. Yes, Cheryl saying, boy, when she got married, she was not prepared either. And today, I don't think, I think especially the people that refuse the premarital counseling, they don't know what they're doing. They're purely getting married on the lower levels of consciousness. And the minute you see a bridezilla, someone who's all tied up in the marriage and the wedding and not the marriage, then you know there's something not right. Anyway, uh, let's get away from that a little bit. That was a little bit, that was hard for me to share. So, but if anything I can say can help you, I'm just going to lay it all out in front of you. If it's too much for you to listen to, do feel free to not watch. Okay. Okay. The divine idea, which is perfect, can't fail. Okay. It doesn't invalidate the divine idea of marriage. The divine idea, which is perfect, can't fail. Our expression of it can. If we consider Fillmore's explanation of manifestation, we recall he said an idea is like a nucleus or a particle of, of giving off a vibration that nucleates or tracks like energy, which culminates in manifestation. The quality and duration of the marriage and family that emerges from it will depend on the divine idea behind it. Okay? Do not misunderstand me. Marriages are not going to be all roses and rainbows. They are challenging. They are hard work. I used to tell couples when I married them, what you are about to do is the most difficult work of your life and the most rewarding. Okay, I'm just going to check up a little bit, see if I get anything. No, it was not a real game, Cheryl. It was one that we made up, and the idea was to be perfect and not to give our husbands any reason to get angry with us or yell at us or be mean. Okay. All right. Thank you for your input, Cheryl. Much appreciated. Um, Okay, if marriage forms in the lower quadrants, which would include romance, emotion, chemistry, dysfunctional families, codependency, money, or ego, it will fail. Unless you've got two people that are so committed to the fact that they are going to make it work, that they do the work, and you need both people to do the work. Had I not put in everything I did to try to make my marriage work, um, I would today say I made a mistake in getting out of it, but I did not. I made a mistake in getting into another one. That's what I made. But anyway, so there's no foundation. How do these things happen? Um, hang on, I was good. Oh, I used to call chemistry temporary hormonal occlusion, and that's nothing to base a relationship on. A woman may feel that her biological clock is ticking and she needs to get married if she's going to have a family. A man feels he should get married to show stability and climb the ladder of success. Or a child may be conceived and parents want to provide it legitimacy and a home. These reasons are not sufficient as a foundation to build a family on. Establishing a relationship takes work. People want it to be easy. It doesn't work out that way. And getting intimate too soon does not help. Now, I do have a friend who joins us sometime, and her children were married by arranged marriage. I have a friend, one of my friends that I used to work with had an arranged marriage. And actually, they have a better shot of making it, not necessarily because the people are somehow perfectly matched by those who made the match, but that is their expectation that this is what I've got and I'm going to work with it to create something. We expect it to be easy. My mom used to say, easy as falling off a log. Yeah, well, when you land after you fall off that log, it's not too pleasant. For marriage to serve as a cornerstone of a family, it must be established in the upper quadrants, the higher consciousness, the intuitive sensing. Neither one of my husbands had the interests that I had. It was all lower consciousness. It's just the way it was. I dreamed it in higher consciousness, but I lived it in lower consciousness, and I would try to hang on for all I was worth to a poor relationship because in my frightened little soul, it was better than being alone. Little did I know I'd be alone from the time I was 42 for the rest of my life. Well, at least till I'm 75 now and I'm still alone. And do you see the smile? It's there. Yeah, it's not like being single's the best thing in the world, but being single's not the worst thing in the world either. Okay, a healthy marriage is when couples share beliefs and values. Doesn't matter what church they go to or even if they go to church, as long as their values are shared. This marriage does not exclude carnal and romantic pleasure, but they should complement the union, not initiate it. Complement, not initiate the union. The way people marry today reminds me of a little plaque my mother had on her kitchen wall. It said, it was in Pennsylvania Dutch and said something almost, I'll try to do the little accent. We grow too soon old and too late schmuck. Ain't that the truth? Having a good and enduring marriage is too important to leave to the ego self or to the physical desires. Yes, of course, there's got to be some chemistry, but it can't be based in chemistry. Chemistry is cheap and common. Throw together a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of baking soda. Neither one is very expensive. And you get this little Vesuvius going on, and then it's gone, and you have nothing but flat water and flat baking soda. Okay. As a minister, when I engage, when I counsel engaged couples, I make it clear a good marriage is not about roses, wine, and romance. It's about the ability to stick together and support each other during life's challenges. I advise them marriage is the most difficult job they will ever have and the most rewarding. My parents were married almost 63 years when my dad passed away. And up to that day, they would walk and hold hands. They were true friends. My dad, mellow Pisces, tolerated my mother, loudmouth, opinionated Virgo. I love her. She's a great woman, very funny. You seen Lucille Ball? You've seen my mother. No, you haven't seen Lucy, but you've seen Lucy Ricardo. You've seen my mother. And you've seen Ricky Ricardo. You've seen my dad. Not like the actual Lucy and Desi, but the Lucy and Ricky. They were a good couple and made it look so darn easy. I thought it was going to be easy. Maybe that's why I was so quick to make such a bad judgment. Well, that's it for tonight. And we are going tomorrow. We're going to be looking at family as the building block of our future. We're going to look more deeply into what family is and does. And that one may take us a couple of nights. So, I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. And I hope that you will look forward to seeing me as well. And maybe Tishy. She slept through afternoon's Life on the Light Side and tonight as well. She was out in the meantime getting food and stuff. So it's not like she's been in there all day. God bless you, my friends, and have a good night.